Hello, hi. My name's Jerry Miller. I'm the founder of Trendsignal, the trader education company, and this is again part of our Monday Market Insight series. And we're looking at, gosh, what's happened in the UK with Boris Johnson, forced out eventually after what was just a ridiculous, tumultuous 2 or 3 days last week with a raft of ministers, starting with Rishi Sunak and Sajid Javid resigning, which precipitated, at least that's what Johnson felt. He described it as the herd mentality, but I think, gosh, he didn't quite recognise his failings, did he? Anyway, Boris Johnson has resigned. There's still a bit of a debate going on, and I'm sure it will continue as to whether he should manage a caretaker government while the Conservative Party goes through this process of choosing a successor. The markets seem to think that a successor will be chosen by early September, which is earlier than what perhaps some people thought, and they need to get it done as quickly as possible because it will create a lot of uncertainty. Uncertainty for us trading the markets, of course, which is something it can be a bonus, but it can create unwanted volatility at certain times. Anyway, let's have a look at what is likely to happen. Who is in line to succeed him? I mean, we only want to talk about that because it's possible there could be a change in policy, and that's something we need to consider. The people in the frame are as follows, and I'm just going to open up a browser to show you who's in the running. So this website is it just shows you a summary from various bookmakers that give prices on the race to be leader of the Conservative Party. Interesting enough, Ben Wallace has crept up to be the favourite for the time being. Obviously, this is going to be ebbing and flowing from day to day, but it was quite interesting that Penny Mordaunt, who didn't have a job under Boris Johnson and is liked by the Tory faithful, but it seems that Ben Wallace, the Defence Secretary, put in a pretty good showing, is certainly one that the bookies are favouring for now. Rishi Sunak, who he was probably a shoe-in about 4 or 5 months ago, but there was the problem with his wife's non-dom income and not paying tax here in the UK, which I think rather queried his pitch a little bit. Tom Tugendhat from the with his army background. In fact, Ben Wallace has got army background as well. Liz Truss is liked by the Tory faithful as well. So there's a lot to play for. Nadeem Zahawi, who there was a big expose last week in the Times about him having a team already to go for the leadership. I think his stock has fallen a little bit, but it's interesting. A lot of them are already talking about their tax cutting credentials, which plays to the Tory faithful. So it's possible we could have a potential change. Anyway, let's get back to the next slide. So, um, what, if any, policy differences will there be? You know, I think the new Prime Minister, when he or she is elected leader of the Tory party and becomes Prime Minister, I think they've got their work cut out, as I think the Economy described it as having a rather significant in tray. Perhaps relations to be repaired with the EU, perhaps um, between the parties in Northern Ireland and the EU. So there's a lot going on, and obviously with the war in Ukraine, and the impact that that's having not just on the UK economy but the global economy, and of course the cost of living crisis here in the UK. Monetary policy is not decided by governments and prime ministers, but they can have an impact on it, and it depends what sort of team that the new prime minister assembles. Specifically, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, who obviously is the one that decides and constructs the budget and decides on tax and spending. And that's something that will become clear as the parties, the candidates vie for position as to what their particular uh, um, strategy is going to be with regards to that. And obviously, the relationship with the EU might be something that will come up in conversation as well. Although it's noted that comments last week from the EU suggested they didn't think much would change, which was quite bearish of them for some reason. I'm not sure why. Anyway, just finally, um, how will it affect the UK markets and sterling? You see, ordinarily you'd think something like this would perhaps undermine sterling with uh, the tumultuous sort of events from last week. Sterling actually had fallen as the events were unfolding, and in fact, when Boris Johnson actually announced, or news came out that he was resigning last Thursday around sort of 9 o'clock, the pound rallied. It was down around 119 to the dollar, and it then rallied back up to above 120. I think, along with the euro, though I think it's likely to fall further against the dollar. But actually, sterling did rally against the euro, so that's the tell that suggests that sterling actually has found a little bit of a bottom across the board. Um, Otherwise, markets really are in the grip of the global angst about inflation, and that's nothing to do with it's not a UK issue, although the UK does have specific worse growth concerns. It's expected to have the worst GDP reading this year in the G7. So the new administration, new prime minister, and his new chancellor, they're going to have their work cut out when that happens. But I know the FTSE 250, what is it, down about 21% on the year. That's not really down to what's happening in the UK, although it is more representative of what's happening in the UK than the FTSE 100. FTSE 100 actually is one of the standout indices this year that has outperformed virtually every other one, partly because it had underperformed so much for the last 5 years. Um, let's wait and see, but I don't think too much is going to change as regards policy that's going to affect the markets particularly. It's possible that a new chancellor could engage in some not frivolous, but sort of some tax cuts that will tip the balance a little bit, that could undermine sterling further. But yeah, we'll wait and see. That's it. Thank you.